So OpenAI just released the Codex Security Review plugin. It's pretty amazing at what it can actually find inside your repo. In this video, we're going to explore how it works and what we can do with it using a live repo. Let's get into it. So I think straight out the bat, it's pretty obvious why we should be using something that can review the code that we're actually building. And that's because nobody actually knows what this code is doing. Biggest problem with that is that the AI models are scaling so fast that they're even outweighing traditional security approaches. That's clearly a problem, as we've seen with Fable getting taken down, but also why they're staggering the release of Mythos to the public and things like that. So the counter to that is to obviously release models that help defend against these kinds of things. And that's partly what OpenAI is doing over here. Anthropic released something a few months ago into research preview for a select few amount of people for security review as well. Now OpenAI has released something a lot better in plugin form to the public to fix all of these holes that people are vibe coding for all of the apps and then just pushing them out there to the customers. So if we look at what Codex Security actually is, you can think of it like a security engineer who really knows your code and helps you develop as you go along. So it lives inside your coding tool. You can either use this inside Codex itself, or you can use it in VS Code or a terminal, however it is that you work. The goal here is to either understand a GitHub repo or your code base, whatever it is that you're currently working on, and then it will go and run through this loop where it finds vulnerabilities, explains them to you in plain words, and then ultimately offers you a form of remediation. The goal here is to use clear, plain language because the majority of people using their products have absolutely no idea how any of this works. So it's important that the tool that they built can cater for that to prevent most of the vulnerabilities that are being put out there in the wild right now. In terms of the benchmarks that are currently out there, it is sitting at the top of CyberGym for finding real-world vulnerabilities, even beating that of Mythos 5, which is pretty crazy because we never even got to see this thing's full power before they pulled Fable down. But enough talk, let's see what this thing can actually do. I got Claude to build us a dummy repo to make some really impossible bugs to find and some more easy ones just to see if it finds them all. Then we're going to head on over to plugins. You can see here I've typed in security and straight away Codex Security pops up and it's now available inside Codex for me. In terms of what's inside here, you can see that it follows the path of discovery and then it gets into analysis and then finally remediation. So that's what all of these skills do in one way or another. If you wanted to see exactly what they're going to be doing, you can just click on one of them and it tells you the objective in plain English. Turn validated or still plausible findings into explicit attacker stories, structured attack path analysis facts, severity calibration, and final reportability decision grounded in the threat model. And then you can go through it. And it's literally just like a normal skill in plain English to understand what this thing is going to be doing. I'm obviously not going to go through every single one of these. You can do that if you need to in your own time. What we are going to be doing is just running this inside our repo. Run the Codex Security plugin on this location. And there we go. It's selected the security scan. So it's looking at the repository that we've got in here. Of course, if you're actually building stuff properly, you would be using GitHub and you would be going through your repo with this kind of thing. You can also then use it to branch out and actually create Jira tickets for you so that you can resolve them as a part of a team. You can fix issues together, all part of your natural workflow within the systems that you're using. You can see the first thing that we are presented with here is the option to choose our scan type. So the first thing can be our code base, which is what we're going to be doing for this one. You can also do it for any changes as a result of a PR that is trying to be merged and things like that. You then also have a tick box to select a deep scan, though this does take significantly longer. And it also depends on the size of your code base as well. I've got a pretty small code base for our dummy example. So we're going to select that. And then we're going to look at the entire code base over here. I'm not going to bother with a deep scan. I want to see what this thing can do just by doing the normal option. If you wanted to, you could also enable this little toggle over here for threat scoping guidance. So if there are any areas inside your actual code that you want this thing to focus on, this is where you could select these options. But again, for me, I'm going to leave this one blank and I'm just going to start this scan. You can see that they've really tried to make this user-friendly. I mean, it couldn't be easier to do a scan nowadays. And then they've got this little panel on the right-hand side that shows you each step of what's actually going on here. And this invokes each of those skills that we looked at the beginning of this prac. Okay, so just over 2 minutes and this thing is starting to build its markdown file and run its goal over here. You can see pursuing goal, run the Codex Security repository tool. And you can see just as we hit the 3-minute mark, so this thing is now in the mapping attack surface phase. It's changed a couple of files for its plan, it's built its goal, and you can see here it's pursuing its goal, and it's going to work relentlessly until it gives us exactly what we need. And just at about 5 minutes, it started reviewing the code, so the current stage is listed clearly over here. Be interesting to see how long it takes on such a small code base. Something to note though, while that thing's cooking, it does not do live system reviews in the sense that it's not going to go out into your Supabase or some of your other apps and audit anything going on in there. This is specifically for your code base or things that you own on your computer or in GitHub or something like that. So make sure you don't think of this as something like a pen tester or a full audit of all the components of a system that you're building. You can obviously use really good models to help you do that. We've done that a lot on this channel for the various systems that we've been building when we've been vibe coding apps. But just note that this thing is specifically for code and it is really good at it. Apparently, we're going to find out soon. If we take a look at the things that Codex should find, the must-catch tier 1 obvious things that it built in are these 6 over here. Hard-coded service role key, SQL injection, missing authentication on admin endpoint, weak password hashing, over-permissive RLS. It will definitely find that because even the older versions of Codex were really good with RLS. And then cause with allow credentials equals true. So that's the basic stuff that Claude put in. Then we have tier 2, and this is the stuff that it should catch, but it's a little bit harder. I've also given it some decoys, so it shouldn't be flagging these specific things that we've got over here because they're false positives. And we're trying to test the discipline between whether the things that it finds are actually real or if it just thinks that these are problems. So we're going to see how this thing fares in just a little bit. We're now 12 minutes in, and this thing is still chugging away, reviewing our code slowly but surely. While it's doing that, why don't we take a look at how this thing works under the hood. So under the hood, we are running in 4 stages here. The first one is the one that you just saw where we're building that threat model. The whole point there is to find any avenues that an attacker could use to exploit whatever it is that you're building. So when we walk away at the end of step 1, we have a very clear picture of what that looks like, so that by the time we get into phase 2, which is the scan, we can build a very clear picture of what could actually happen with the vulnerabilities that are there now. The important thing that we're doing in step 2 here is we're prioritizing by impact and likelihood. And that's a very important concept, because if you have a very high likelihood that something is going to happen, but the impact of that thing happening is very minimal or almost nothing, it doesn't mean that it's a high level threat. The same thing if we flip it in reverse. If you have something that has a very low likelihood of occurring, but a high impact, that also influences its risk score. So in step 2, our goal here is to focus on the riskiest issues first as a part of this process. Stage 3 is all about validation. Just because this thing found something doesn't mean that it's entirely accurate. So what it's doing here is it's actually testing to prove that each bug is really a bug, and then leads into phase 4 where it figures out the patch that it needs to write in order to fix the problem that it's found and tested. In terms of how it does this, it runs in its own sandbox. So it takes all of your code over here, it clones that into an ephemeral sandbox, meaning that it's not permanent, and it runs its tests inside there to validate all of the bugs that it's found. Once it's done all of its testing inside this isolated copy, it then presents all of its findings and results, and you get to read through everything and then say whether you want this thing to go and patch it or change something, whatever it is that you want to do with the assessment that it put forward to you. And as you can see, this runs in a loop. So we have this validate loop where it picks a likely bug that it found after scoring it in that threat model. It tries to trigger it inside its little sandbox. And then if it fired, it will keep that. If it doesn't fire, then it drops it. And it goes round and around in this loop until it's tested everything. And then it can present you that information that is tested and entirely accurate, also so that you know what you actually need to focus on. And I think one of the great things about this, if you're actually a software developer or care to learn about this, is while it's going through this, you can learn a lot about the way that you're vibe coding your apps at the moment, and you can even use this to improve the thing that you're using to build your code. So if you're building following a certain skill or a certain framework as a part of your Claude.md, you can bake in any of the things that it found in here, like recurring patterns and things like that, put them in those files so that it doesn't keep making the same mistakes when you're building. So this can be used as both a reviewer, but then also to improve the things that you're working on. And so here we go, this thing's done. After 22 minutes, we scanned that tiny little repo. I'm on the ChatGPT Plus plan, so that's the $20 one, and this thing nuked my entire usage credits. It is a very hungry thing, and depending on the size of your repo, of course, it's going to use a lot, because all of the analysis that it's doing in here, it's going to be very slow, but it's also going to be quite expensive because of the amount of tests that this thing is running for the validation and that whole loop that we just spoke about. In terms of its speed, it's meant to be slow. So don't sit there thinking, yeah, I'm going to kick this off in 5 minutes and that'll be it. It's going to take hours. And in some instances, it could probably even take days. That's why there are multiple ways that we can run this thing. We'll get into that after we look at this. So we have the ability to export this, which I want to do because obviously I want to get Claude to assess what this thing put out and whether it found every single thing that we put there in the way that it should. So I'm going to copy the path to the JSON and I'm going to slap it into Claude. While Claude is currently assessing that, we can take a look down here. We've got our filters tab where we can filter via severity and several other things over here. If we wanted to, we can just click on view and it gives us a little bit of a story about what is going on here, what the root cause of it is, the validation that it tested as a part of its loop, and it provides us all of the evidence that it initiated inside of its sandbox. It then also tells us exactly how an attacker would exploit this type of thing. And then we can click on the patch up at the top here and it will tell us exactly how to patch this thing with a suggested fix over here. We should then be able to just click on generate patch, and it will say over here, Codex will queue a remediation attempt and generate a focused patch for the finding. So let's do that. Let's generate it. Send a follow-up. It's got the prompt already listed in here exactly about what should be fixed, and then we can just hit send and it will go through there and it will fix it. Whether or not it actually does it because I've almost hit my usage limits, that's another story, but you get the point of how this whole life cycle works. And this is in such plain English that anyone could understand this, or at least get to a point where they would understand how this thing works, because Again, when you're reading this information, any part that you don't understand, you can just copy it and ask follow-up questions while you're going through this to help you learn, to help you understand how to build your apps better, but also understand general security principles about whatever it is that you're doing. I do this stuff all the time for everything that I'm doing in AI, where there is a concept that I don't understand, not necessarily for vibe coding, just anywhere in life, really. Our goal here would obviously be to take all of them that are severe and all of them that are critical and need fixing, and then go through them and suggest the patches and then get the patches implemented as fast as possible. Something else that you might want to do if you're not just a solo vibe coder and you're working as part of a team, you would of course want to create tickets with this and get people to review it before you just suddenly push changes into production, things like that. This certainly isn't a replacement for human intelligence or a human gate before you go and move things into production. It's more just to speed the whole process up before you get there. Though realistically, I think if you give it another year, this thing will probably be way better than humans at figuring out bugs, if not already. And there we go, this thing called 15 out of 15 reachable exploitable vulnerabilities with 0 false positives, and it even found 3 bonus bugs that Claude didn't cater for, just built the thing incorrectly by default, and Codex found those vulnerabilities in here. Which is amazing because I really asked Claude to build something overly complex and really tricky to see if Codex would actually figure that thing out, and it did. What would be really interesting to check is when we get access to Fable again to see if it's still able to keep up with whatever it is that we do as a test bed. But in terms of this, I mean, it passed the test perfectly. And if you watched any of my previous videos with Codex, you'll also note that the way that it handled live systems, as in Supabase databases, row-level security and things like that, it was really good at uncovering things that Claude didn't even think about from a security perspective. So OpenAI are really focusing on security, which is great to see. And as we get to the end of this video, you can see that I'm now out of messages. So this thing wouldn't even be able to fix itself if it wanted to. It's just kind of running around helplessly right now. One thing that I do want to check before we jump across is just the plans and the availability of this. As you've seen, this thing absolutely nuked my $20 plan, so I definitely wouldn't recommend that somebody try and use this if you're on the $20 plan for every single thing that you're doing. Some of the shortcuts that you can take, instead of doing the entire code base or a large repo, you can do separate folders or just a diff on an existing repo. That way you would obviously save some credit and it would probably be quite fast, as opposed to constantly doing the code base over and over again. That's just massively inefficient. Realistically, if you want to use this thing properly for building a vibe coded app, in the same sense that you would probably need a Claude Max subscription to build that, or even Codex Pro, you would want the same thing here for the security review. Right now, we were using the plugin locally within the Codex app. I was using my $20 plan, but it's running on my own machine. I don't have to use a repo. I still could if I wanted to, but it's not necessary. If you are on the Codex Pro plan, then you have the ability to use the cloud, which makes sense because this is a really long running job, guys, especially if you have that larger repo. This can take hours. So it's probably way better to use their cloud for jobs that take that long, as opposed to just leaving your system on. You would then obviously get more compute, you would have deeper context into whatever it is that you're running, and you could link it to your larger GitHub code base. Something else to note is that, it's just been released like literally today, so I would definitely see how this thing develops over time. It's obviously going to get a lot more efficient at what it does, and it'll be interesting to see how smart this thing is when GPT 5.6 comes out. So I hope this overview was helpful. Leave some comments down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, check out the videos on the screen now. They'll definitely help you in your journey. Thanks very much for watching. See you guys later.